The sky above was not blue. It was purple with 3 suns burning like fire. The market below was full of noise, aliens shouting, machines buzzing, and metal cages rattling. This was not Earth. This was a slave market on the alien planet. Called T-Rex and Dot, in one of the cages sat a girl. Her name was Myra. She was 22 years old, thin, with long black hair that was dirty and tangled. Her eyes were tired. Her hands were tied in front of her with electric cuffs. Her clothes were torn and her feet were bare. But even in this broken state, she sat straight. She was a human, and she had not given up. She had been a slave for many years, taken from Earth when she was just a child. She didn't remember her family. She didn't remember her home. The aliens called her Subject 9. They trained her to obey. To clean, to serve, to never speak unless told. And to never dream. Today was another sale day. Alien buyers walked by the cages. Some looked inside, some laughed. Some pointed at her like she was nothing more than an animal. Myra didn't react. She had learned to hide her feelings. Crying brought pain. Speaking brought punishment. Silence was safe. Then he came. A man, not alien but human, walked into the market. This was rare. Humans were not free in this part of the galaxy. And yet this man walked like he belonged here. His back was straight. His eyes were sharp. He wore black armor with a silver symbol on his chest that no alien recognized. 2 large alien guards followed behind him, but it was clear they did not control him. He controlled them. He stopped in front of Myra's cage. She looked up, slowly, carefully. Her eyes met his. He stared at her for a long time. Then he leaned closer to the cage, and he whispered one word. Just one, Earth. Myra's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't heard that word in years. Her eyes grew wide. Her hands shook. No one spoke of Earth. It was forbiddance. Slaves were told Earth was destroyed, that no one came back for them, but this man knew. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her throat was too dry, her voice too broken. Still, her eyes asked the question, "Who are you?" The man looked at the alien seller. "How much for her?" he asked, though the seller laughed. "That broken thing? Take her, no charge. She's useless now." The man smiled slightly. He unlocked the cage himself. Myra didn't move. She thought it was a trick, another test. If she moved, she would be hit. That's how it always worked, but the man didn't yell. He didn't grab her. Instead, he knelt down. His voice became soft. "Myra," he said, "you don't belong in a cage." "Not anymore. Come with me." Her name, he said her name. Not Subject 9, not slave. But Myra. Tears filled her eyes. Slowly, she crawled out of the cage. Her legs were weak. The sun felt too bright. She looked around, scared, confused, but still moving. The man helped her stand. The aliens nearby laughed. "Why save a slave?" One said, "She's just human trash." The man didn't answer. He looked at Myra and said, loud enough for all to hear, "Because she is my wife." Silence. Everyone stopped. Even Myra couldn't believe it. Her legs gave out. She fell to her knees. Tears rolled down her face, not because she was afraid, not because she was in pain, but because someone, after all these years, called her wife. She had forgotten what love sounded like. What kindness looked like, she cried, and smiled at the same time. The man lifted her again. "Let's go home," he said. The guards behind him opened a secret door in the market wall. A ship waited beyond it. A human ship. As they walked through, Myra looked back one last time at the cage, where she had spent most of her life, and then she turned away. She didn't know what future waited. She didn't know if this man really was her husband, or just a stranger with a good heart, but she knew one thing. She was not a slave anymore. Myra sat on a soft seat inside the spaceship, but her body was shaking. For years she had slept on cold floors, eaten old food, and lived in silence. Now the air smelled clean. The lights were warm. And someone had just called her wife. She didn't understand. The man, Ryan, sat across from her. He looked strong, calm, but tired too. His face was familiar, like a dream she couldn't remember. Myra kept staring at the electric cuffs still on her wrists. "Do you want those off?" Ryan asked gently. She nodded once. He walked to her slowly, showing his hands first No weapons, no threat. Then, using a small tool, he unlocked the cuffs. They clicked open and dropped to the floor. She rubbed her wrists. They were red and scarred. She had worn those cuffs for so long, it felt strange without them. Rayan sat back down. "You're safe now, Myra." She looked up. Her voice came out small, broken. "Why, you know my name?" Rayan smiled, but it was a sad smile. "Because you told it to me a long time ago." "Before they took you," she blinked. "I don't remember." "That's okay," he said. "They erased your memories. They do that to many slaves. But your past is still inside you. You'll find it again." Myra looked away. Her hands were shaking. She didn't trust him, not yet. Too many aliens had lied to her before, but something inside her wanted to believe. "Who are you?" She whispered. "My name is Rayan Cade," he said. "I was your friend. When we were both kids before the abductions began." He pressed. A button on the wall, a small screen opened up. An old picture appeared. 2 kids, a boy and a girl, stood near a tree. They were smiling, laughing. The girl had Myra's eyes. She touched the screen. Her fingers shook. "I used to smile." She whispered, double quotes, "Yes," Rayan said. "You were always the brave one. You used to tell me, we're not small. We're just young." She almost laughed. Almost. "But," she asked, "why did you come for me?" He looked her straight in the eye. "Because I promised I would." Myra turned her head. Her heart was full of questions. "And the word you said?" "Wife. Why?" He paused. "Because in the old world, Earth, you and I were close. Very close. We talked about a future. But we were just teenagers. Then the attack happened. You were taken. I joined the human resistance to find you." Myra's head was spinning. "I don't remember. I'm not that girl anymore." Rayan nodded. "Then let's find her again. Together." Suddenly an alarm beeped. Rayan stood up and moved to the front of the ship. Myra followed slowly, watching him press buttons on a screen. "What is it?" she asked. "A patrol ship," he said. "Alien slavers. They may have tracked us." Fear rose in her chest. "Are we in danger?" Rayan glanced back. "Not if you help me." She stepped closer. "Help? I don't even know how to fly." "You don't need to," he said. "You just need to remember." He tapped another screen. A hologram appeared, a brain scan. "When they took you, they didn't just make you a slave. They put something inside your mind. Alien tech. Some call it a tracker, but it's more than that." "What do you mean?" she asked. "I mean," he said slowly, "you're not just a victim. You're the key to something bigger. You can connect with alien systems, control them." Myra's eyes widened. "That's not possible." He stared at her. "You felt it, haven't you? Sometimes machines around you behave strangely. Lights flicker, doors open without you touching them." She froze. "Yes, but I thought it was just luck." "No," Rayan said. "It's not luck. It's power, and it's yours." Outside, the enemy ship got closer. Red lights flashed on their scanner. "We have to go now," Rayan said. "Or fight." Myra stepped forward. Her fear was still there. But something else was rising, something powerful. She placed her hand on the console, closed her eyes. Suddenly, the alien ship froze, lights blinked. The signal dropped. Myra opened her eyes. "I did that?" Rayan smiled. "You're remembering." She sat down, her body shaking again, but not from fear, this time. It was something new. Hope. The planet was dead. Ash filled the sky. The ground was black with fire scars. Once, humans had lived here. Now it was only bones and silence. A small ship landed on the surface. Dust flew into the air. Myra stepped out slowly. The wind was cold. Her hair blew across her face. Beside her, Rayan walked with a scanner in one hand and a gun in the other. "This is what they do," he said. "When humans fight back, they erase everything." Myra looked around. Buildings had melted into the ground. A doll, small, half-burned, lay on the road. She picked it up gently. "Was this place Earth?" she asked quietly. "No," Rayan said. "But it's what Earth could become." They walked toward an old underground base. Its door was hidden behind rocks. Rayan entered a code. The metal wall opened with a hiss. Inside was something Mara had never seen before, a human rebel base. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't clean. But it was alive. People in armor moved fast. Screens showed alien ships, maps blinked red and green. Humans, not slaves, worked with purpose, planning their next move. As they walked in, people stared at Myra, some saluted. Some just watched, confused. A few whispered, "Is that her?" She felt small under their eyes. Like she didn't belong, but Rayan stood beside her. "They know what you did," he said. "That alien ship, you stopped it with your mind?" "I don't know how I did it," Myra whispered. "That's okay," he said. "You'll learn." He took her to a room. It had no windows. One table, 2 chairs, a computer on the wall. "This used to be your father's room," Rayan said. "He worked with us before they took him too." "My father?" Rayan nodded. "You were just a girl." "He was building something. A way to protect humans from alien tech. A way to fight back using their own systems. You were his test subject. You were special." Myra sat down. "So they took me? Because of him?" "They took you," Rayan said, "because they were afraid of you." He pulled out a small device. It looked like a coin. "This holds the rest of your father's work. But it only responds to your DNA." He gave it to her. Her fingers closed around it slowly. "And if I say no? If I don't want to be special?" Rayan knelt beside her. "Then I protect you anyway." "You're not a weapon, Myra. You're a person. You choose what happens next." Number one had ever given her a choice before. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she whispered, "Teach me." 3 weeks later, Myra stood on the training ground. Sweat rolled down her face. Her arms ached. But she didn't stop. She had learned to shoot, to fight, to fly ships. And slowly, she was learning to control the power in her mind, the strange tech inside her that could connect to alien systems. She wasn't a slave anymore, but she wasn't a hero yet either. She had dreams, flashbacks, a burning city, her father's voice, a promise she didn't understand, and one face, a tall alien with silver eyes. "Always watching. Who is he?" she asked Rayan one evening. Rayan's face turned dark. "They call him the architect. He built the system that turned humans into slaves. And he knows who you are." Myra's hands tightened into fists. "Then I'll make sure he remembers me." Late that night, in a hidden part of the base, Myra walked alone. She needed quiet. She needed answers. She found a locked room. The door opened as she touched it. Inside were old files, paper, screens, pictures. One file had her name, IR01. She opened it. Inside was a photo of her as a baby, her father holding her, and under it, alien symbols mixed with Earth words, prototype for human tech fusion. Emotional resilience. High memory lock activated. She stepped back, shaking. "I wasn't just a test," she whispered. "I was a plan." Suddenly, a voice behind her said, "You weren't supposed to see that." She turned. It was someone from the crew. A face she had seen before. He held a knife. "You think you're free?" He said, "You're still just a tool." And the architect wants his tool back, somewhere in deep space. The message played in a loop. Target located, human female. Name, Myra. Code, prototype 01, return alive, bonus if unbroken. Inside, a dark ship. The bounty hunter smiled. His name was Vesk, half machine, half alien. No face, just a metal mask. He had hunted rebels before, but this one was special. She was just a slave, he said to himself. Now she's the most wanted. Human in the galaxy. He opened a map. The signal was clear. Myra was hiding on a burned planet. Let the hunt begin. Meanwhile, back on the rebel base. Myra couldn't sleep. She sat on her bed, knees pulled to her chest, thinking about the file she found, and the man who tried to kill her. The traitor. He didn't say why. He didn't need to. The words were enough. You're not free. You're a tool. The worst part? A part of her believed it. Rayan entered the room quietly. You okay? No, she replied. Why didn't you tell me what I was? What they did to me? He sighed. Because I wanted you to choose who you are, not what the past says you are. She looked at him, her eyes sharp. Then let me choose to fight, Rayan nodded. Then we leave at dawn. Next morning, aboard the stealth ship, Shadowfire Imara sat in the co-pilot seat. Her hands were steady now. Fear had turned into focus. With her were Rayan, a few rebel fighters, and a mission. They were heading to an abandoned human colony. On a moon called Aurelia 5, a place where slaves were once trained, and where Myra believed her memory was first erased. She wanted answers. She wanted justice, but someone else wanted her first. Approaching a -5 as their ship landed in silence, Myra stepped out with her team. The sky was green and heavy with clouds. The old colony looked like a graveyard, broken towers, rusted gates, and strange machines sleeping in dust. Suddenly, Myra froze. Her head hurt. Memories hit her like lightning, too fast, too bright. A white room, screaming, hands holding her down. A voice saying, "Forget who you are." She dropped to her knees. Rayan ran to her. "Myra, what is it?" I was here," she whispered. "They broke me here." The ground under them cracked and then exploded. Boom. Myra was thrown backward. Dust flew everywhere. Screams followed. The team scattered. From the smoke, a tall shadow walked forward. VSK. His voice came cold through the helmet. "Hello, prototype." Rayan aimed his weapon. "Don't move." Vesk raised a hand. A pulse of energy knocked Rayan across the ground. "I don't need you," Vesk said to him. "I need her." Myra stood up slowly. Her body shook, not from fear, but from rising power. "You want me?" She said, "Come get me." She ran into the ruins. Vesk followed, fast and quiet. Inside the training center, ruins. Moved through the dark hallways. Lights flickered. The building remembered her. Doors opened for her. Machines whispered old codes. This place had once been her prison. Now? It was her weapon. Vesk came behind her, scanning every corner. "I was paid to bring you back," he said. "But if you resist, I'll bring back pieces." Myra stopped in front of a control panel. Her hand touched the glass. Her eyes glowed faint blue. The entire hallway lit up. Machines woke. Doors slammed shut behind Vesk. The floor under him turned into liquid metal and swallowed his legs. He roared. "You think you're in control?" Myra stared him down. "I know I am." Outside, Rayan recovered. He and the others reached the control room just as Myra stepped out. Her face calm, clothes covered in dust. "Is he?" Rayan asked. "Trapped," she said, "for now." But then, a new alert flashed on the ship's monitor. "Incoming fleet. Unidentified origin. Estimated arrival, 10 minutes. Myra's eyes narrowed. They found me again. She returned to the place where her soul was broken, not to remember but to end it. The blood moon rose over a red desert, big, silent, watching the planet. Below it was called Karak 7, once a human slave world, now abandoned. But Myra knew it wasn't empty. Not really. She stood at the edge of the old slave camp, her boots sinking into the dry dust. The wind here carried old screams. Her heart was steady, but her fingers trembled. Behind her, Rayan placed a hand on her shoulder. "We don't have to do this. We could bomb the place from orbit." She shook her head. "No, I need to walk through it. I need to face what happened to me." Rayan nodded. "Then we go together." "No," she said firmly. "This is my fight." Inside the ruins. The gates creaked open. Myra stepped through, alone. Rusty cages lined the walls. Some still had bones inside. Chains dangled like dead snakes. Every step echoed like a whisper, the same place where she had learned to kneel, to obey, to forget. Now she walked in like a storm. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the old intercom. "Welcome back, Myra." She froze. She knew that voice. Her old master, Krellin, the alien who first broke her, the one who taught her pain. He was supposed to be dead. "I've missed you," he said. "They said you escaped." "I knew better. Slaves don't escape." "They return." She didn't answer. Her silence was no longer fear. It was power hidden above. In the control tower. Krell watched her on the screens. "She's grown," he said to his guards. but the mind remembers chains. He pressed a button. Deep in the camp, the ground shook. A trapdoor opened. Myra fell through. Below the surface. She landed hard, coughing in dust. Lights snapped on. She was in a cage again. No weapons. No armor, just herself and the past. Across from her stood Krellin, tall, gray skin, eyes like knives. 2 guards beside him. You were always different, he said. Even when you cried, I saw it. Fire in your eyes. They tried to erase it. I tried too, but fire doesn't die. It burns. She stood up slowly. Then maybe I should burn you next, he laughed. Still sharp, but you're alone. No, she said, raising her hand. The lights flickered. Sparks danced across the ceiling. I am never alone. Back at the rebel ship. Rayane and his team watched from orbit. Suddenly alarms went off. Shield around the camp just activated. We've lost contact with Myra. Rayane clenched his jaw. Get me down there, now. Underground. The confrontation. Kren walked closer to Myra. You think you've changed? That you're strong, but I made you. You are my work. She closed her eyes. Flashes hit her mind. A younger version of herself, crying in the corner, screaming in training rooms, whispering her own name so she wouldn't forget it. And then, the memory of Rayane's voice. You are not what they did to you. Her eyes opened. Blue light sparked in her pupils. Chains around her snapped like paper. Krellin stepped back. What are you? She stepped forward. I'm human, she said. And you're going to remember what that means. She raised her hand. The ground shook. Control panels exploded. The walls cracked. One of the guards tried to attack, but metal from the cage wrapped around his legs and pulled him into the floor. Krellin turned to run. Too late. Myra reached into the system with her mind, unlocked all exits, outside. Rebel dropships landed. Rayane stormed in with soldiers. Explosions rocked the camp. They found Myra standing in the center of the burning control room. Her hands were glowing. Krellin lay at her feet, alive but broken. Rayane walked up to her. You okay? She nodded. I didn't come to kill him. He raised an eyebrow. No, I came to show him, she said, that I'm free. And he can't take that from me ever again. Later that night, the camp burned behind them as the ship lifted off. Myra sat by the window, looking at the blood moon. She whispered to herself, I was forged in fire, but I didn't burn, I rose. They were writing her name on walls. Not in ink, not in blood. In hope. Across rebel bases, broken ships, and ruined worlds, humans had started to paint one word wherever they gathered. Myra, not as a slave, not as a prototype, not as a number, but as a flame that had refused to die inside the rebel capital. Hidden beneath the moon of Area Myra walked down a long hallway. People moved out of her way. Not in fear, in respect. A child peeked from behind her mother. Is that the fire? Girl? The child whispered. Myra smiled gently. She still didn't feel like a hero. Her scars still ached. Her memories still cut deep. But she had done something no one else had. She had walked back into the cage and come out free. War room, deep underground. Rebel leaders sat around a glowing table. Maps of space lit the surface, red zones marked where humans still suffered. Myra stood next to Rayane. People are rising, said one commander. Your name has given them courage, Myra frowned. Names don't win battles, action does. Another leader nodded. We agree. That's why we want you to speak for us. Speak? She asked. I'm not a politician. You're something stronger, Rayane said beside her. You're living proof that we can win. She looked around the room. These were soldiers, scientists, fighters, all of them waiting for her voice. She stepped forward. I'm not special, she said. I was just one slave among thousands, but I made a choice. Not to be silent, not to kneel, and if I can stand, then so can you. Later that night, on the observation deck, the stars outside were still the same, cold, endless. Myra stood alone, watching them. Rayane walked in quietly. You were incredible today, he said. I said the truth, she replied. He smiled. Sometimes that's the most powerful weapon. They stood in silence for a moment. Then he said softly, You know, when I found you in that cage, I called you my wife." She turned to him. "Yes, I remember." "I didn't say it to trick them," he continued, "or to save you," I said. "It because I meant it." Myra's breath caught. Her heart skipped. "We were too young to understand," he said. "Back on Earth before everything. But I loved you, Myra, even then." She looked down. "I don't know who I am anymore," she whispered. "Half of me is still broken. The other half is something alien." He stepped closer. "You are exactly who you're meant to be. Brave, fierce, human, and I don't care if your hands burn with power, I'll still hold them." Tears filled her eyes. No one had ever said words like that to her. Not without wanting something. Not without control. Just love. She touched his hand, and for the first time in years, she didn't pull away. Across the galaxy, news spreads on. Planet after planet, rebellion flags rose. The aliens feared Myra, not because of her tech, but because she had survived them. She had looked into the eyes of monsters and didn't become one. Slaves started whispering. She faced Krellin and walked away. "She burns machines with her mind." "She is not a weapon, she is a warning." Inside the architect's chamber far away, the architect, tall, pale, cold, watched the footage of Myra standing in the flames. "She remembers," he said. Another alien stepped forward. "Should we destroy her?" "No," the architect replied. "We should bring her home." The room fell silent. "She is still ours," he said. "She just forgot." Final scene of Part 6. Back on Alarianth, Rebel Council gave Myra a title, Human. Voice of the Resistance. She didn't care about titles, but she accepted, for them as she walked off stage. A rebel boy ran up and gave her a folded cloth. She opened it, a red scarf, with the word wife stitched in Earth language. "I found it in an old Earth box," he said. "I thought it might be yours." Myra held it close. She looked at Rayan, waiting nearby, and she whispered almost to herself, "Not a prisoner, not a weapon, just a girl, who someone called wife." And for the first time, she said it back in her heart. "And maybe now, I'm ready to be her again." It didn't start with weapons. It started with a whisper, one rebel, one message, one name. Myra. And that whisper became a voice. The voice became a fire. And the fire became a war. In the heart of deep space. Fleet of rebel ships floated in silence, black against the stars. No banners. No warning. Inside the command ship, Myra stood at the front window. Her hands were gloved in tech. Her eyes calm, focused. Behind her stood Rayan, the Rebel Council, and hundreds of fighters, all waiting for her signal. Today was not just another battle. It was the day they would face him. The architect. The one who created the system that made humans slaves. The one who thought Myra belonged to him. "He made me," she once said. "But he forgot something. I evolved." On the enemy side. The architect stood in his throne room, tall, inhuman, skin pale like stone. Screens around him showed Myra's face. "She comes," he whispered. One of his generals said, "Shall we prepare the weapons?" "No," the architect said. "Prepare the truth. She needs to remember what she is." He walked to a chamber, where a glowing machine pulsed like a heartbeat. Inside it, a memory crystal, her original memory, her origin, back on. Myra's ship. Rayan placed something in Myra's hand, the red scarf she'd once received. "I don't care what happens down there," he said. "You come back." She smiled softly. "If I don't tell them I didn't kneel." He leaned in, whispered something only she heard. Then she turned, pulled her hood up, and stepped into the drop pod. The final infiltration. Architect's planet, Zereth Primera, landed like a spark in a storm, blinding lights. Enemy bots, gunfire, but she didn't stop. Doors opened when she looked at them. Systems shut down at her touch. She wasn't fighting the machine, she was inside it. Rayan and the rebel teams attacked from the skies, drawing fire, freeing slaves, disabling command posts, but Myra moved alone, toward the tower, toward the architect. Inside the tower she entered a white room, silent, clean, empty. And he was there. The architect. "I see you've grown," he said. "I see you're afraid." she replied. He smiled. Not afraid. Curious. Tell me, Myra, do you remember what you truly are? She held her ground. Human. No, he said. You were born on Earth, yes, but you were built here, a fusion? Your father gave you to me. You're lying, she said, but her voice cracked. He stepped aside. Showed her the memory crystal. Images floated in the air, her as a child. Surrounded by machines, a lab, her father crying, saying this is the only way to keep her safe. The truth broke her for a moment. She was part alien tech, part human. Built to survive, built to resist, built to lead. But then, she smiled, not with fear, with understanding. Thank you, she said. The architect blinked. For what? For reminding me that I was made from pain. But I became something you never expected, he laughed. And what is that? She stepped forward. Hope. And she exploded, not in flames, in light. The machines around her overloaded. The architect's systems fried. He screamed as the room collapsed. But she kept walking into the core and touched the command matrix. Above. In space. Every human ship powered up. Every alien slave ship shut down. Collars dropped. Doors opened. Across the galaxy, human slaves looked up and saw freedom. Back in the core. The architect fell to his knees. Who are you? He gasped. Myra stood over him. I was your tool, your weapon, your mistake. She turned away. You don't deserve to know who I am now. The end. But not the end. Myra returned. Burned, changed, alive. She stepped onto the rebel deck, and the people didn't cheer. They stood in silence. Then, one by one, they knelt, but she shook her head. No more kneeling. They stood together.